Alright, so this is the Terra turret. It's a remotely controlled airsoft turret done by Christopher Ivan and I for Computer Networks. So what we have is an Android app, which the user is allowed to use to send commands to a turret and basically move the turret around, shoot, and do a bunch of kind of stuff. The way it works is the Android app will send commands to the Raspberry Pi, which will then be sent to the Arduino. The Arduino controls the servos, and that allows the turret to move and fire and such. All of this is also streamed back to the user via webcam. We're using WebRTC in order to stream video. So here we have basically the three main components of our project. We have the fire control system, which is in the Arduino. We have the Raspberry Pi, and then we have the Android app itself. Now, the user is interacting with the Android app, which then, over WebSockets, sends all those commands over to the Raspberry Pi. And that Raspberry Pi is then connected to the fire control system, which then, as discussed, controls the actual servos that move the turret and fire and everything. So, and then we also have, of course, the webcam, which is connected to the Raspberry Pi, which is then streamed back to the Android app into the user's view. So we have a video that we're going to show. Chris explains the turret a little bit, and then he also moves it around, and then we'll come back and talk about the actual Android app user interface.
Alright, so we have a Geekduino, which is a type of Arduino, mounted on the bottom of the gun, and that's listening to this serial port connection to the Raspberry Pi, and it receives commands from the Pi to control and move the gun, and it translates those into servo movements and controls all the various hardware. The Raspberry Pi gets its commands from the Android phone via a WebSocket connection, so it translates commands from the Android into a format that the turret can understand. And then through a separate connection, the webcam streams video via WebRTC. So it's real-time, low latency, streams video and audio. We chose this because it's high frame rate, high quality, and very low latency because it's peer-to-peer, as opposed to other video streaming, which would take a very long time and it wouldn't be easy to control it if you're not in the same network as the turret. But even on another network right now, I can aim the turret, use the camera, toggle the safety, which also triggers the laser, and I can aim and fire the gun pretty accurately from the phone because the video is so low latency.
So here we have a video of the actual Android app portion. I'll be talking over it as it's used. This basically will just show you the user interface, how it's used, and what it looks like. So let's go ahead and start the video. So the first thing we need to do is actually connect to the turret. We're connecting to the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, which has the servers running on that. We also have a domain name set up, but for now we're just going to go ahead with the IP address. So the user interface is quite simple. Analog stick on the right, fire button on the left, and the safety on the center. When you first log in to the turret, the safety is engaged, so as you can see, you just went ahead and armed it, and the laser actually turned on with that as well. And you can't obviously fire when the safety is engaged, which we'll see in a second. So the streaming is actually done with WebRTC, as we mentioned. As you can see, the fire button actually grays out. And WebRTC is actually really good with latency. So yeah, but that's basically the Android app. It's quite simple. So